In August, I moved out of my hometown in Texas, around the same time that my grandma moved back to Germany. I've missed her and the rest of my family back home so much ever since. There's always been a kind of language barrier between me and my grandma. Because she speaks so many languages, her English is not the best, and neither is my ability to speak Tigrinya, which is a native Eritrean language that almost everyone in my family is fluent in. Cooking has always been a great way for us to bond and grow our relationship. And I believe my grandma is the reason why I love cooking so much today. So now I will be making one of my favorite comfort recipes that she taught me, banana nut bread. The ingredients that we will be using are 2 to 3 eggs, 6 to 8 super ripe bananas, 2 cups of your choice of nuts, I'm using pecans this time, 3 cups of flour, half a cup of brown sugar, 1 cup of regular sugar, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1 to 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and 1 stick of butter. I divide my ingredients into 3 groups to ensure the bread will be very moist and maintains the same consistency throughout. First, I mix all-purpose flour, baking soda, and cinnamon servings into a bowl. It is important to make sure that there are no flour clumps in the bowl, and also make sure that the baking soda is evenly distributed within the bowl. Next, I put the stick of butter into a separate bowl and melt it in the microwave for 15 to 20 seconds until it is soft or liquid so that it is easier to mix. Afterwards, I add the eggs, vanilla, and both sugars. Lastly, I make a sort of pudding base with the bananas and nuts to really get the creaminess and nuttiness in every bite. Super ripe and spotty bananas are ideal for this recipe because they're naturally mushy and sweeter than regular bananas. All I do is just skin the bananas, break them in half, and scatter the nuts of choice all over the top and blend for as long as I want. I don't like when the nuts are super big, so I blend until the bananas reach its desired consistency. Pour the bowl with the sugars, butter, and eggs into the biggest bowl, which should be the dry bowl with flour, baking soda, and cinnamon. Once you mix that as much as you can, it should look doughy, which means it's time to add the homemade banana nut pudding that was made in the blender. Also, be sure to whisk out all air bubbles and clumps. Once you are satisfied with your texture, your bowl should look like this picture and have a light brown color. Now is when you should preheat your oven to 350 degrees. I poured my mixture into a square baking pan used normally for cake, but if you have a bread pan, you should definitely use that instead. If you're like me and love to lick the spoon with the batter, this is your last chance to taste test, in case you want to add a little bit more of sugar or honey for taste. Now that the oven is preheated and your mixture is in the pan, cut a piece of aluminum foil and secure it on top. This will prevent the bread from drying out too fast while cooking the mixture all the way through. Place it in the oven and now we wait. During the waiting period, my grandma would always make us tea to drink while we cook, and we'd get started on the actual meal we would eat that day. Now that I'm alone, I made myself some tea and read a chapter of the book I'm currently reading. After 35 to 45 minutes of baking, I check on the progress and carefully remove the aluminum foil. Then, I turn off the oven, but leave the pan in the oven to cook a little bit more while it simultaneously cools off. Once the bread is cool, you just cut and serve. As you can see, the final product is definitely a darker brown than the raw mixture, but don't worry, I promise it's not burnt. The brown sugar, vanilla extract, and extra bananas I used help make the mixture extra moist, which are primarily the reason for this. Some of my favorite things to eat banana nut bread with is cream cheese, grape jam, salted butter, or even a drizzle of honey. I am delighted to share this intimate piece of my childhood with you. Hopefully this will translate into a yummy memory if you decide to try this recipe out for yourself. What is your piece of home away from home?